Thursday, everybody. Welcome into Concrete Jungle, a New York baseball podcast here on FingerLakes1.com. Paul Russo here. Kyle Evans, as always, across from me. What a week. I don't think I fully expected, even though we did do our predictions and such, as we usually do. I didn't anticipate the winning to be quite the way it has been across the board for the Yankees and the Mets here in the second week of September, but baseball's weird like that. So plenty of good things, I guess, to kind of talk about in a sense. We'll hit, obviously, the Yankees doubleheader in Boston, the Mets getting 2 of 3 early from the Diamondbacks, and they finally have a president of baseball operations, so we'll discuss that a little bit as well. But Kyle, good to see you. Been a couple days, so everything been all good the past few days?
Yeah, it just seems like weather's been a big issue, especially for the Yankees side of things. I think it's like 4 delayed starts in the last week, and now 2 postponements. So, and then, of course, just more injury news with them. But overall, just keeping busy with my work, and I honestly sometimes can't believe how quick the weeks go now. Yep. How about yours? How's your week going?
Can't complain. The Yankees and the Mets too. It's a weird East Coast thing right now. I don't know what it's been. I mean, mind you, at least where we are, right? It's been predominantly wet, but weather didn't affect too many things over the summer for a lot of these Northeast teams. But even there's been a lot of delayed starts. I mean, Citi Field has been damp, right, for these games. But yeah, for the Yankees, obviously, like you said, Kyle, enough that this 4-game set against the Red Sox has become 2 doubleheaders. So we'll jump into all that, obviously, and more. Before we go any further, though, thank a couple of our sponsors. Start with DeSanto Propane. DeSanto Propane is 4 generations strong and a trustworthy family-owned business with unmatched customer service. Go online at DeSantoPropane.com for more information or call them toll-free at 1-800-752-4574 today. Since 1937, the difference has been DeSanto Propane. And Seneca Falls Acupuncture. Get your glow back at Seneca Falls Acupuncture. Gorgeous skin is rooted in good health and internal balance. Tap into the power of cosmetic acupuncture to maintain beautiful, healthy skin no matter your age. Learn more and book online at SenecaFallsAcupuncture.com. So, let's get into the Yankees here, Kyle. And for the Yankees, they get the first 2 games of this series against the Red Sox in a doubleheader, obviously, as I mentioned. Their first doubleheader victory, and I say that meaning they get both games, since 2006 in Boston. And I believe, if memory serves me right, even though nobody's outright said, I believe that was the quote-unquote Boston Massacre series. That was 5 games in 4 days or something like that, or 5 and 3 the way they did it. Crazy, but excuse me. That's where we stand right now with the Yankees. Now, wasn't all exactly glitz and glamour, which we'll get into here, but I do want to start with a couple guys here in particular, and I want to start with the bullpen guys here first, especially the nightcap of Tuesday, and that was actually the Rodon start as well, which is funny because he's my other, really, I guess, main headline guy to discuss. But what did you make of, frankly, what I call the ragtag bullpen guys there Tuesday, kind of really coming in and frankly shutting things down when Rodon came out of the game?
I couldn't believe what I was watching. It was literally the Scranton bullpen locking it down for 4 innings. Zach McAllister was one of the guys that pitched who hadn't been in a big league game in, what was that, 2019? 2018, and then the other guy was 2019, and that was Matt Bowman. So, yeah, just guys pitching in the big leagues for the first time in years and looking like a regular out there. Mm-hmm. And remember, Boston's not a great team, but they do score runs. They put up runs, and for them to go out there and shut them down after Rodon's pretty good start, I was just shocked by it. I couldn't believe it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to touch more on McAllister here, especially, right? This was a guy who initially was drafted by the Yankees, funnily enough, right? It's funny how time works. In 2006, gets traded to Cleveland in 2010 for, do you know who, Kyle? Because I do. This guy's a key part of my childhood.
I just heard this the other day. I'm not going to be able to get it right now.
Sorry, we're looking for Austin Carnes. or Kearns, depending upon where you are in America. But yeah, so goes to Cleveland, and that's actually the bulk of my memories of McAllister are in Cleveland because of one particular play where he kick-saved and a beautied a line drive out that was back to him. But, frankly, like we said, 2018, last time in the majors with the Brewers, had, I believe, was it 2 shoulder surgeries or just the one major one? I want to say it was one major one.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And so that knocked him out for a while. He's been on this journey back, and you could tell when he was being interviewed post-game Tuesday just how much it kind of meant to him, and let alone, I guess, the interview post-game, but coming off the mound after his inning of work and just kind of the emotion on him, just like, I frankly, looked like he's like, I made it back, I still got this, like, damn, it feels good. And that was really awesome to see, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he made it look like I said earlier, he made it look like he's been out there for normal time, and he hasn't missed that much time in the big leagues. So, I mean, it's a cool story to follow. I'm sure we'll see him a handful of other times coming up here in the last 17 games, maybe even today. It's 2 games now, and then Matt Bowman, and you just look at this bullpen. You got like Nick Ramirez, Greg Weisser, Johnny Brito. Like, there's so many guys that if you would have told me they would be part of the bullpen in September, I would be like, no way.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird at the point where we are right now. It's like Johnny Brito is the one who's probably had the most innings of work in that bullpen as it stands right now, and it's only because of like the starts at the beginning of the season. And I mean, it's kind of nuts. I mean, outside of, I guess, probably Clay Holmes maybe, which, by the way, credit to him. Not great game 1 Tuesday exactly, but worked himself out of trouble. Maybe to a little bit of a help of Alex Verdugo swinging on the first pitch after walking the bases loaded. But that's one of those confident spots too. Before we get back to really, I guess, Rhode Island in game 2 there, but that's a decent spot where things aren't going your way, but you're able to kind of get shut down, even though you got some assistance. But for Clay, that's a big spot right there, obviously, and for a guy who, I wouldn't say, they're trying to probably figure out his spot within the bullpen, but, definitely, is he an 8th inning guy at this point or a 9th inning guy, or just the high leverage guy? That's a nice little feather in the cap to towards the end of a year where you can be like, things didn't go great all year, but that's one of those games where it's like, felt good at the end of the day.
The thing with him is when he struggles, it's literally just because he doesn't throw strikes.
Right.
And walks kill him, and then before you know it, the opposing team's putting runs on the board. And it's just like with all pitchers, limit the walks and you'll have more success. And Clay had been pretty good for a good part of this season, but the last 2 outings or so, seems like he's starting to walk guys again. And he almost blew it the other day. I know we were watching here live, and it's like, yep, this is probably going to be a blown game, but gets that sinker down and gets that double play. Huge out. Or a huge game-ending double play, I should say.
Yeah, and like I said, maybe no thanks anymore to Verdugo, but let's get back to game 2. Carlos Rodon, I wouldn't say that's the type of game we've exactly been waiting on for him, but for a guy who, frankly, we literally went into Monday's podcast talking about how, in a sense, like he's just, at this point, a lost season, more or less. Kind of a wash, and you have to accept what you have with him for the year. That's the type of game, in a sense, that the Yankees signed him for, more or less. I think part of it, you'd like to see maybe go an extra inning type deal, 1 more inning. As you mentioned, Kyle, right? I mean, bullpen went 4 innings Tuesday night, or game 2 Tuesday night, and obviously, rain out yesterday helps, but another doubleheader today going into 3 games this weekend. It's not. I'm getting off topic from really, I guess, what I'm talking about here. Now I'm just letting my baseball mind kind of wander. But more or less at the end of the day, though, like, that's the type of start that I think everybody expects from Rodon. And I think this is maybe the start. I mean, obviously, he's only going to have, in theory, 3 games left to start this year. Maybe 4, depending upon, I guess, how everything shakes out. But, really more likely 3. And I'm not expecting the next 3 starts for him to be exactly like that. but for a guy like Rodon, I think he's the type of guy who could carry it into the next 3 starts. I mean, that'd be... We talked about this with the Mets. I think that's a nice momentum builder to get next season kind of going early, in a sense, for not only the team, but for Rodon.
The crazy part about this outing is to start off the game, it was a home run on the first pitch, a double, and a walk. And somehow he only gave up 1 run in this outing and struck out 9 batters, which was his season high. And he was hitting 98 on his fastball consistently. And it looked like he was starting to do something that he hadn't really done a lot this year, which is elevate the fastball. And, really force it inside to the right-handed hitters. And it seemed like he was getting more ground balls. And it just looked like the Rodon that we know he can be. And it seemed like he had way more confidence, and he wasn't... I think he ended up with 4 walks, so still not great, and that's why his pitch count's always so high. If he just limits the walks and, changes the way he pitches and elevates the fastball more. I mean, these Red Sox hitters weren't even touching it, and some of these swings were really bad. So, yeah, it was an encouraging outing, but the thing with all pitchers is it's 1 game, and we need to see him build on this.
Right, that's what I mean by, like, in theory, right, he has 3 starts left this year. I guess it could be as low as 2, but could be as many as 4. Like I said, I think it all depends of how everything kind of maybe shakes out here, the remaining, where are we at now? Remaining 17 games, so...
15 after today, of course.
Oh, right, correct. So, yeah, I mean, I guess really more in theory it is likely to go to be 3 and not before, but... yeah, I think that's kind of the bulk of it, right? We both kind of said the same thing without saying it the same way, more or less. I will say this. I mean, I don't think it's fair to him to jump to right off this year. I've seen this a ton. I know you have too, Kyle. I don't think it's fair to write him off just yet. He was dinged up to start the year. I don't want to say they misdiagnosed his issue because they didn't, right? But there was another issue that just kind of compounded things. And look, is it for year 1? Is it the exact value you wanted to get out of this contract? No, but
5 more years.
Exactly. But right, I mean, I get that, but like at the end of the day, right? Like these couple starts where he's been really good. He's been really good.
Yeah, but he got lit up against Detroit last outing. That's the problem.
That's what I'm getting at here. Is like, I understand the rough alleys and everything, but can we pump the brakes on making his contract already the worst one in Yankee history? Admittedly,
it's definitely not the worst.
Right.
I mean, Jacoby Ellsbury.
Well, I was going to say for me,
probably up there, pretty good.
For me, it's Carl Pavano, but yeah, I mean, there's a couple others out there before Rodon's I would even consider at this point, So, all right, let's talk about some roster news here. Pretty much, it's funny again how these things work. If you saw Monday or listened Monday, you know that we weren't live. We had to do a pre-record and dump it out after. And of course, as is tradition on Monday, we get done with the podcast. And what was it, Kyle? I don't even think it was like an hour again after we get done. We get the Loizaga news, more or less, on Monday.
Actually, the Loizaga news was Tuesday, remember, because I came in telling you.
But I remember
Tuesday.
seeing something about Monday.
It's Tuesday.
Either way.
But yeah, same point though. I mean, literally right after we mentioned it, we knew another one was coming, and sure enough.
Yeah. So right elbow inflammation on the IL, done for the year. And I know it's not the best sounding injury given where the injury is and what this could mean, but for me, I'd rather have the inflammation than the strain. And I only say that because of, I think, the way a lot of Tommy John surgeries and I guess injuries to the UCL kind of go in today's current climate, where it's a lot more on the forearm and not so much elbow inflammation. But it still is a possibility, right? Guess they're going to kind of wait and see how things play out here while they let him rest. It's a blow, though. I mean, to be without Loizaga for 80% of the year, more or less, up front, and then to lose him at the tail end here. It sucks. I mean, this was a guy who we were sitting here, Kyle, in March, and I said that I could see him possibly picking up the closer role in some way, shape, or form this year. And he unfortunately couldn't. But this is a guy who, at this point, when he's been on, or when he's on the field, he's really good. Like I don't. It sucks the way it kind of this year played out for him, especially. But I don't want to be the guy now. But he had the shoulder deal. Now it's the elbow, and that. If you're a pitcher, and if you're a baseball person, this stuff piles up the way it does on his throwing arm, and that admittedly does have to get you marginally concerned for the future, I'd say.
Yeah, when he first came off the IL, he retired 32 of 36 batters. And then the last 7 games, which probably now explains why he's on the IL, he had a 6.75 ERA. But before then, he was really good, and he has been good. But even last year, injuries have kind of been a thing with him, and hopefully stays on the field moving forward. Because he would be a big part of the bullpen every year. And like you said, I think he could definitely close with the way he pitches.
All right. I guess semi-good news here. Ian Hamilton threw a bullpen in Boston on Monday. Must have been before the rains, I guess, really kind of came down, I'm assuming. But either way, so it looks, in theory, much like the next guy we'll get to here in a second, but it looks like when Hamilton's eligible to come off the IL here shortly, he'll just be more or less primed and ready to go and get back to work.
Yeah, Aaron Boone said probably Saturday.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was about to say, I couldn't remember if it was technically tomorrow or Saturday, but when they're in Pittsburgh for that. But I kind of mentioned, teased it up a little bit, but Keenan Middleton also looking like he'll be pretty much all set and ready to go. He'll be ready to go for the next homestand on Tuesday, the way it sounds. So, albeit, again, for what it's worth, probably not a ton, but, for Middleton, who, since coming over to the Yankees, has been borderline shutdown, all things considered, for him to be pretty much all set and ready to go right away once he's eligible to come off the injured list. It's a pretty big positive.
Yeah, that caught me off guard. I haven't seen any update on Keenan Middleton. Where did you see that?
That was online on the Yankee website.
I haven't seen anything from any reporters, so I don't know. But I guess if that's true, yeah, that's great. So he's eligible to come off Tuesday? Is that what?
Yes. Well, I think Monday's the technical day, but they're off Monday.
All right, yeah, that would be a big piece to get back, but then it's going to probably take out one of the guys that just made their first appearance. But yeah, Hamilton and Middleton, getting them back for the last probably 2 weeks or so will be good.
Yeah. All right, I think I might have got my stuff confused here marginally, but Oswald Peraza underwent an MRI recently on one of his knees, and they weren't specific on which knee it was. Boone said that he was dealing with some swelling that was bugging him, but again, a little bit of mystery in the shadows regarding the health of a Yankee player going on right here. So that caught me off guard when I initially read it. I was like, okay. I don't like the fact that they didn't outright say which knee necessarily on the initial reporting. But can we just, if you're the Yankees, can you just say what part of the body it is? It's okay. You only have 2 knees. It's not like...
It's left knee.
Right, but what I'm saying is, though, it's not like you're going to not figure out what it is. You know what I mean? You only have 2 knees. If you're going to, hypothetically, right, if you're going to have, a brace or something on your one knee, you aren't going to be able to hide which knee it was for long, in theory, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Nah, it's whatever. All right. Okay, there we go. Luke Weaver claimed off waivers from Seattle. So, the Yankees, look, Weaver's kind of turned into one of those flex guys in a way. But it sounds like the Yankees, when they're going to use him, probably is going to be more in the relief role than the starting role that he's played predominantly all year between the Reds and the Mariners. Again, Kyle, probably just a depth piece, right? Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, it was weird though because he was on Aaron Boone was on Talking Yanks yesterday, and Fangraphs has Luke Weaver listed as Saturday's pitcher, and Aaron Boone never has announced it. But when they said that to him, he kind of smiled. So I think something's up where Luke Weaver might be starting a game against Pittsburgh this weekend. But the Yankees just sent out their game notes,
Right.
and Garrett Cole's going Friday and Rodon's going Sunday. So Saturday is TBA.
Of course, I get done with my notes and they do that. So disregard what I'm about to say in about 2 minutes then. Let's see where else we are. I've already mentioned McAllister being called up, and that's pretty much it there. So let's change focus then, Kyle, to the Pittsburgh series because, kind of, I guess, the Pittsburgh series. We still got 2 in Boston today, a doubleheader there, 1:35 first pitch. So if you're watching live, that's 2 hours from now. We got Michael King against Tanner Houck. And then tonight, the nightcap, Clark Schmidt against to be determined for the Red Sox as it is right now. Don't know if they've announced anything within the past hour or so, but
Nope.
I dare I be that person right now, Kyle? Do I dare say the Yankees get a 4-game sweep of Boston? Man, it's tantalizing. It really is tantalizing. I'm gonna do it. I will drink the Kool-Aid. Give me a double header sweep of the Red Sox for the Yankees. So it's interesting, right? They move King up to the 135 spot, which means when we talked, Monday, we weren't too sure about what the Yankees were going to do with that Wednesday slot. Turns out it was going to be Clark Schmidt anyway, but I'm going to do it. I'm going all in. I will go with a double header sweep. Why not the Yankees? Yeah, I don't really have any other reason than besides I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, I guess, on this one, to be outright honest. I'm just going to ride the momentum wave and take me off to the sunset.
I think the Red Sox are going to sweep today. And then my 2-2 prediction for a Monday will be good.
Same.
Just feel like the Yankees won't score very much today, and the bullpen's definitely probably not going to be as good as it was the other day. Right. So give me Red Sox sweep, 2-2 series, whatever. Move on to Pittsburgh. That's what I would say if I'm the Yankees.
And speaking of Pittsburgh, obviously that's where the Yankees are. So Friday, 6:35 on Yes or MLB Network, depending upon your market. Sounds like Garrett Cole will get the go there then for Game 1. Pittsburgh, I didn't see any starters listed in the game notes.
It's Johan Aviada,
Yeah,
whatever his name is.
He has sparked some things here recently. Then Saturday is TBD for the Yankees, but sounds like Luke Weaver, 6:35 on Yes. Pittsburgh, any indication for there on Saturday?
TBA.
Okay, and then Sunday will be 1:35 on Yes. You said Rodon, Kyle, and then anything there for Pittsburgh either at this point, or still TBA?
TBA.
All right, so great stuff across the board from everybody as we collectively work through this because, that's how it be sometimes. The Pirates are still pesky enough. I feel like they could do something, so I don't know if the Yankees will sweep them. It would be the most ultimate thing, though, if my prediction about the Red Sox series today comes through and then the Yankees get, swept in Pittsburgh or something dumb like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case, though. I do think the Yankees get 2 of 3, though, from Pittsburgh. Luke Weaver scares me. Man, I don't know about him starting. That frightens me, even though it's TBA, but Fangraphs has that. So I'll go 2 of 3 for the Yankees in Pittsburgh. It's a Pittsburgh team that can still run into the ball. I mean, I know they're pretty much in theory out of it, but, they're still a team they're still a team I can't take exactly lightly because they're just pesky enough to mess something up.
Yeah. I'm going to take the Pirates winning 2 of 3. The offense just seems to be back where it's been. Judge isn't hitting. Austin Wells has got 2 hits. Pereira keeps striking out. I mean, they're just not scoring runs like they were, and Gleyber Torres can't keep carrying the load. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't for him on Tuesday, they wouldn't have won both games. Right. So, I don't know. I just think other people got to start hitting for this team to be back where it once was, and they haven't. So
I vote they give Zach McAllister a bat. Why not?
Yeah, that'd be something.
All right, let's transition over to the Mets. The Mets taking 2 of 3 against the Diamondbacks so far. So good stuff all the way around there for the most part. Want to start here. We've mentioned these names a couple different times throughout the year, but especially this time of year, it kind of carries different meaning. But Jose Buto and Joey Lucchesi, Lucchese's start yesterday was just phenomenal for him. Now, Buto's start, not as maybe glitz and glamour as Lucchese's in comparison, right? But that ends up becoming a big game in the series, right? We're talking about 2-3 now, as opposed to, say, 1-2 or something like that. So, and these are two guys who, obviously Buto, highly regarded pitching prospect for the Mets. Lucchesi, right, they get him in a trade, now 2 off seasons ago, I suppose, technically kind of been lost because of Tommy John and everything, and he's been up and down this year as they try and figure out his proper fit within the organization, right? But to have starts this time of year as good as both of them had. Now, I believe, was it DeComo who did it? I can't remember who actually headlined it, but he is right. These performances are more or less, quote-unquote, tryouts for the 2024 rotation for these guys. And personally speaking, I would have Buto up there anyway because it goes back to my logic on here that I've talked about, which is just let the kids play, right? But for Lucchesi, it's a different story. He is not a quote-unquote, homegrown talent, right? I wouldn't necessarily outright call him the journeyman just yet, but, he's had different stops in different places so far. There's no way around that. So, for me, for those guys to have as good a quality starts as they had, I can't say outright that, the Mets have to keep both in the rotation for next year, but it would make the decision, I would say, really easier going into the offseason about what you need to target for the rotation, just seeing what these guys have been able to do. And like I mentioned, Lucchesi been up and down all year. Not all year, right? But, his peaks have been really good. Like, this isn't the first start he's kind of had like this up at the big league club. But when he's gone sideways, it's gone sideways, and he's found himself down in Syracuse a ton. And same with Buto. Buto's starts collectively this year at the big league level haven't been great, but when he goes on to Syracuse, they've been really good. So it kind of makes you wonder about his deal of it's just the pitching version of, right? He just needs more innings of work. Like we talk about how batters need more at-bats, so he just need more innings of work at the big league level to figure out. I think probably he does to a certain degree. But to kind of go back on my point a little bit here, though, right? I think this time of year, we talked about this a ton already with the Mets working towards next year. I think both these guys are making great cases and making the decision easier on the front office, which we'll get to in a second as well, to have a slot at least come March next year to be one of the guys where it's like, no, you have to knock me out of the rotation as opposed to I'm one trying to knock you out of the rotation.
Yeah, what I found interesting when I was doing the recap last night, this was Lucchesi's first big league start since August 18th. And I'm just wondering, why are they waiting until the final 2.5 weeks to get another look at him? In my opinion, he should have been up sooner. They were giving David Peterson starts against Atlanta. Why wasn't Lucchesi up? But yeah, he looked really good. I had the game on last night. Very pitch efficient, too. Shouldn't have been charged with... Well, he wasn't charged with it. It was unearned, but Lindor had a chance for an inning-ending double play and went under his glove, and that's kind of what made his line different than what it was. But yeah, he was getting a lot of ground balls. Like I said, pitch efficient, and the Mets seem to basically win every game when a starter goes 7+, and sure enough, they did last night. And the bullpen the last 2-3 nights has actually been pretty solid. So, yeah, the Mets have played well against Arizona so far, and I said 3 of 4. Hopefully that comes true tonight. And, yeah, good series for the Mets at home.
Yeah, it's trending that way for you. And, look, these are some big games, right? This is an Arizona team that's still on the wild card bubble, more or less. I believe, actually, with their loss, they fell out, and Cincinnati's moved up into the wild card picture in the NL because of it. But, they got to a guy...
Tied with Cincinnati.
Is it tied? Oh, I thought Cincy had sole possession. Either way. They were able to get to a guy yesterday in Zach Gallen who, has a really good case, all things considered, to take NL Cy Young this year, potentially. They got to, like I said, one of the premier pitchers in the league. They kind of go up against one again tonight in Merrill Kelly, but we'll get to that in just a couple minutes. But the fact of the matter is they're getting to some really good pitching, and like yesterday, it was kind of just a culmination of, frankly, everybody was just on the same page, and that hasn't been a thing for the Mets that's happened a ton this year. From obviously Lucchese's start to the bullpen, right, but to the offense. Like I said, they got to Zach Allen yesterday.
Yeah, they've suddenly been hitting a lot more home runs, it seems. And then Pete Alonso just being an RBI machine, 3 RBIs. Mark Vientos homers last night.
We had Ronnie Mauricio, albeit Monday, hit his first career home run.
Yep.
How about that?
DJ Stewart hit another one. Pete Alonso hit his 44th 2 nights ago. So, yeah, I mean, they're just completely opposite of where they once were, where they were barely scoring when the pitching was good and they were still losing. So now they're getting both. Against the Diamondbacks team, who we just mentioned, is in playoff contention.
Yeah.
So,
all right, let's mention the front office here. Let's talk about that because we finally have a president of baseball operations for the Mets signing a 5-year deal, David Stearns. Now, baseball people might recognize that name. 38 years old. He's one of the youngest executives in the league to have this type of high leverage role, more or less. But he was with the Brewers. They had a falling out, more or less. He was fired. Or was it the fire? Yeah, he was technically fired. And not to say he was in limbo, but here's something that I don't think many people kind of maybe exactly knew, or maybe they do now because its news has been out for about 24 hours. It came down between the Mets and the Astros for Stearns. And I have to give credit to probably Steve Cohen here for just kind of stepping up and getting the deal done. But Stearns, like I said, great baseball mind for as young as he is. He is a New York City kid, interned with the Mets actually as well. Back in the, let's see here, I want to make sure I got my numbers correct here. Really during the Omar Minaya days. So, look, he's a guy who at least understands the organization, knows the city, obviously, and what they expect. But I think more importantly, the Mets now get this true cardinal direction of what they have to do, right? So instead of Billy Epler handling everything, Epler has to go to Stearns, and I think that's big. I think Epler's track record at this point is starting to get a little bit more questionable. Not anything maybe of his exact own doing, right? But was with the Angels for a while, and obviously we know how things ultimately shook out there and became, I think, a little bit under the microscope here with how everything kind of shook out at the trade deadline with the Mets, with the offseason acquisitions of say Verlander, Scherzer, and everybody like that. So, it makes you wonder about the structure. And now that there's a better one in place, I think it sets up better for the Mets going forward. And frankly, maybe this adjusts the timeline too. Maybe they do go out and compete this upcoming year because maybe this offseason they go about things a little bit better than they did, like I said, just having the structure in place to kind of do so.
yeah, I like the move. Mets fans should be excited. I know a lot of them wanted Billy Epler gone, but now at least Stearns has more power than him.
Right.
And maybe he will lead this team into a direction that kind of gets them a playoff caliber team, sooner than we expected. But yeah, 5-year deal kicks in, I heard, after the regular season ends. So yeah, really good day for the Mets yesterday, and we'll see how the future goes.
Yeah, I mean, look, Stearns is more or less the reason why Milwaukee's in the position, at least, that they're competing every year now. He was able to bring in a bunch of dudes and keep that farm system kind of intact during a time where I think a lot of people might have expected Milwaukee to not be buyers or not be planning for competing. But he was able to accomplish that, and I think for the Mets, like I said, this is an A-plus hire. I mean, it apparently came down between the Mets and the Astros, and I know he's a New York City kid, but he does have ties to Houston through, I guess, his marriage to his wife and everything. So this is a big get. I mean, obviously, if the Astros are pinning in and honing in on a guy, you have to take that seriously. I think about the guy's pedigree, So, all right, let's talk about some roster updates here for the Mets. Brett Beatty left yesterday's game with a left groin soreness. He will be getting an MRI today. He had been struggling lately, but in the game before he got pulled last night was 2 for 3. I think he was 0 for 17 before that or something like that. But I wouldn't say it's not concerning, but obviously at the end of the year and stuff like this, those injuries, I wouldn't put up there on the oh crap list. But for a young guy like that, you certainly don't want to see him go down when he could just frankly just be getting reps and working on the craft for next year.
Yeah, it seems like he hasn't really been the player we thought he would be this year. He got sent down. But to be honest, back when he was sent down, he was struggling then too. So I don't know why he's having a down year compared to what we thought. But maybe he just needs to shut it down for the season and come back next year strong because he just hasn't been hitting.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird. He was slugging in Syracuse, so who knows? Who knows? Starling Marte took full batting practice for the first time since going back on the IL with his groin issues. For as good as that bullpen's been, we do have a injury note. Sean Reed-Foley, unlikely to return this season. He left Monday with having a right lat strain. Unknown what the Mets will do with him. He needs to be tendered a contract. If not, he'll be a free agent. And this was a guy who the Mets were having some hopes to possibly bring back next year. Things have not gone as well as they had hoped. They've gone fine, but not as well as they had hoped since he returned off the IL back at the end of August. So, I guess mid-August, really, but kind of sucks to see that. Reed Garrett and Joey Lucchesi, as we already mentioned, recalled from Syracuse. Sam Coonrod optioned to Syracuse. And Luis Guillorme continues his rehab work. He is with AA Binghamton now. So, with that in mind, the Mets wrap up against the Diamondbacks tonight. I guess later this afternoon. 4:10 first pitch, a kind of weird getaway game for the Diamondbacks. 4:10 SNY. Merrill Kelly goes against Kodai Senga. So, I say the Mets get it done today, 3-1. I like the matchup. And in my mind, if you can get to Zach Allen, you can get to Merrill Kelly. Merrill's really good. I don't think he's as good as Zach Allen, but really good. But I just like the matchup. I think Kodai Senga's been on a really good stretch lately that allows him to carry some momentum into this start. And I think the offense, all things considered, I think they keep things going from last night. So I think the Mets get done and take a 3-1 series victory over the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with my prediction. I think that's the case. And I think they're going to win by a lot.
Oh, where'd you go?
I like the way this offense has been swinging the bat, and I just think no matter who's pitching, as we saw last night, they're just confident and they're scoring runs, and Mauricio's going to go deep again.
Love it. All right. So then the Mets welcome in the Cincinnati Reds for the weekend. 3 games there. Tomorrow night, tomorrow, Friday, 7:10 first pitch. Hunter Green against David Peterson. Saturday, 7:10 on your local Picks affiliate. Andrew Abbott against Jose Catana. And then Sunday, 1:40 on your local Picks affiliate. Brandon Williamson for the Reds against to be determined for the Mets. This is a Reds team that, unfortunately for them, they've been very Jekyll and Hyde the past couple weeks because a lot of their starting pitching has ended up quiet, and I say quietly because nobody makes the deal about the way they do anymore, but quietly has ended up on the COVID IL. So you've had a lot of interesting guys make spot starts the past few weeks. Now, bulk of these guys are back, right? Hunter Green was on there, Brandon Williamson was on there. The only person really not was actually Andrew Abbott. So, I don't think the Mets get swept. I just think it's a bad spot to be in. The Reds are, like we mentioned, they're in the thick of a playoff race here with the wild card. I think it's just a tough spot. I do think the Mets get one. I don't think they get swept. I do think they lose a series 2-1 to the Reds. I just think the Reds are a little bit of they aren't like a wagon in the sense that we talk about for like Ohio is a wagon for MAC football, but You know, that's a Reds team that when that offense is clicking, they're clicking, and when pitch is clicking, they're clicking. And I just think it's a bad spot to be a Met this weekend, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. They've won 3 in a row, 6 of their last 10. I just think the Reds, being in a playoff spot, they're just going to be super pumped. So give me 2 of 3. Give me 2 of 3 against the Mets, and yeah, I don't know where they're going to come, but maybe they lose Friday night. Maybe they lose the opener and then win Saturday, Sunday is my guess.
Look at you. All right. So we're both kind of in agreement across the board here for a change, which is kind of wild. But all right, before we get out of here, talk about Rochester and Syracuse quickly. Both have split in their respective series so far this week. Rochester with Lehigh Valley in Rochester, and Syracuse on the road in Worcester. For Syracuse, we finally have a roster move, the first one in over a week. But that was just catcher Matt O'Neill being assigned from Double-A Binghamton. So.
Lame.
What do you mean lame? We finally had
Who's Matt O'Neill?
We had continuity with them for a while.
A 130 hitter with no homers and 3 RBIs.
Correct. Yes, not great. Rochester catcher Paul Witt was activated. Right-hand pitcher Mason Thompson, left-hander Joe LaSorsa, option back from Washington. Left-hand pitcher Mitchell Parker was assigned from Double-A Harrisburg. And Jackson Rutledge was recalled to Washington. Really cool. Did you see the video by chance of that? That was awesome. So, for those of you who don't know, and obviously we can't play it because baseball has a very strict DMCA rules, and let me put it to you this way, Kyle. I'm very proud that, knock on wood, in my time here, that we don't have a copyright strike, and I plan on keeping it that way. Rochester, tomorrow night, Friday, is Deaf Culture Awareness Night. And so they wear jerseys of the Red Wings in sign language, and they have a bunch of different stuff video-wise to help out with that. And so Matt Lecroy called Jackson Rutledge in. Initially billed as, and I think it got overlooked in this, initially was billed as his random drug test, actually. But he also was just like, hey, we need you to sign a message on the video board for Friday night. And Jackson was, all about it. Obviously, he's been a Red Wing now for pretty much a little over a month. And so Matt, Lecroy hands over the thing. Like, all right, I need you to read this, and we'll go from there. He goes, hi, I'm Jackson Rutledge, and I am a big... And it kind of clicked, I think, when he got to that point. It was just an awesome video, an awesome experience. I think it shows, too... I know, unfortunately, both teams now are officially eliminated from playoff contention. But there's a reason why Matt Lecroy is very high regarded in the baseball circle as a really good minor league manager, because he cares about these guys. He gets them prepped for the next level really well. And I know, if you go by outright record-wise, I can understand why somebody would be like, well, maybe he doesn't deserve to be back in Rochester next year. Like, sure, I want him back in Rochester next year, though. Like, this is a guy who clearly cares about the game and his players, and stuff like this, like the video for Rutledge getting called up, in my mind, shows it.
Yeah, those videos are always cool, not just in that scenario, but all around the league. You just watch the videos in the manager's office and guys finding out they're going to the big leagues, just very cool moments, and it's pretty cool that he's going to get an opportunity, and I believe he's pitching tonight, right?
Yeah. No, he pitched last night.
Oh, I thought it was tonight, Thursday. I don't know. I thought he got called up Wednesday, but he's going to pitch today. But yeah, so I think he is pitching tonight, but I'll check. But yeah, such a cool moment. Happy for him, and hopefully he does well.
Yeah, definitely. So Rochester, obviously, this is it for them at home this weekend, so get out if you can. I know the weather might be on the colder side, but should be fine, all things considered. Syracuse, I know, is back next week, so you'll have limited opportunities for baseball the rest of the year up this way before we're all pinned inside the rest of the year for sports. Unless you, I guess, go to Orchard Park. But
you nailed it. Got his first career strikeout last night.
See? Bang. Well, I only say that because of...
97 miles per hour he hit.
Did you see what happened to him by chance? I ended up not going viral on TikTok, but MLB, I saw, made a couple of TikToks on it. Also, former Red Wing who... He's been up now for a few weeks, but Drew Milas was catching him yesterday. And I forget who was stealing second for the Pirates, but... Needless to say, the throw didn't exactly get enough air if you're catching by drift, and it whacked off of Jackson's head and went into right field.
Ooh.
It was kind of wild. Like, the ball actually carried distance. Now, Jackson was fine, but it ended up being a bit of a semi-viral moment from the game, unfortunately. So, but yeah, all things considered, Jackson appeared to be fine. He continued in and everything. So, but yeah, I know for you, Kyle, especially, you're a pitcher. That's about maybe not your worst nightmare, obviously, exactly, but that's definitely up there in terms of things you don't want to have happen to you on the mound.
Yeah, that almost happened to Garrett Cole on Saturday, or I can't remember the day pitch, but yeah, Ben Rortvedt almost hit him in the head, and you could hear him saying, "Oh no!" So yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so that'll wrap up Concrete Jungle for today. We'll be back at it next Monday, live again in the morning, I believe is the plan. Kyle, big weekend ahead for you, I know. A lot of baseball still, a lot of high school sports. The Bills looking to rebound. I mean,
Syracuse
you got
football.
Syracuse football, yes, exactly, against Purdue. It's a stacked weekend for you, I'd say.
Yeah, it's gonna go by quick with all the things I have to do. But before we head out, we have news on Jason Dominguez. Tommy John surgery next Wednesday. Obviously, that was expected, but now that's the date.
Yep.
So next Wednesday, and now his recovery time is 9 to 10 months, which puts him at May or June next year.
So
a lot of people said possibly spring training. That's not the case. It is quicker with position players, but still, it's still quite a bit.
he'll be DHing more than likely a ton next year, I'd say.
So yeah, we won't see him for a long time.
Yep. Unfortunately. Alrighty, so I suppose that'll do it then for today on Concrete Jungle. Appreciate everybody for tuning in, listening, and watching, no matter where you are, whether it's Premier League One YouTube, Premier League One, Spotify, other major podcasting platforms. We'll be back Monday. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you then.